Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night time for another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And would you like to introduce our very special guest?
Sure, coming to us from the future, we have the director of DROPBEAR, John DeCaux.
What's going on,
Thanks so much for
John?
having us.
And the reason why you're saying he's from the future is because it's tomorrow where he is?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Tuesday lunchtime here, and I'm assuming it's Monday night. Oh no,
No.
Wednesday lunchtime here, and so it's Tuesday night for you guys.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you were in Australia.
Yep. In
Just
Australia.
wanted to let you know where you were, because you weren't aware. So
planet
yeah.
that supposedly part of the planet that doesn't supposedly exist. Australia is just a conspiracy theory. After all.
I've always wanted to go to Australia. I don't want to be the typical like the tourist that's in the movie, but I've always wanted to go to Australia. I like a lot of music out of Australia, and plus movies, and but there's a punk band out of Australia that I've like kind of fallen for in the last probably like 6 months, called Private Function. I don't know if you've ever heard of Private Function.
Oh, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, I randomly stumbled on them and on YouTube, and they're not even like that big in the US or anything. Like I just stumbled across them. I'm like, I'm obsessed with these guys now. They're great.
Yeah, we have a rich history of music, like with AC/DC being probably the biggest one, and all the top hood rap scene. Like, yeah,
They do like a Midnight Oil cover, and like going back to my youth, Midnight Oil, like when they had a big hit in the US back when I was a child. But yeah. I don't know. Australia seems like a place to visit. It's one of those bucket list places for me.
Yeah, but then there's 500,000 things that can like kill you. So it's
right.
Like, no, I'll pass on that one.
You only live once.
Maybe we're just telling you that, so then we keep it to ourselves.
Yeah,
which is kind of where drop bears come from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to talk about, the movie DROPBEAR. So I've never heard the term before the movie. So that's like, is that like a urban legend kind of thing in Australia?
Yeah, it's kind of a big joke. And that's where it had this whole thing comes from, is like a joke that we play on tourists. Like we obviously have koalas. And they're this eucalyptus constantly drunk animal that has their brains smooth and very small, but they're kind of like, it became this running gag to tell tourists about drop bears. Like you guys, like you already mentioned that everything's going to kill you when you come to Australia. So it was like how far can you push it? And so then it became this running gag with Australians, like, watch out, like you got to check above you because of drop bears. And because koalas already exist, it was kind of like just playing on that fear of deadly animals, and so they don't exist. It's a big joke. And so then, yeah, when we approached to, like, when we pitched stuff to ITN, it was like, well, most people had tried making drop bear movies in the past, and they went for that serious straight horror. And I'm like, it's really like, I think over the years I've been thinking about it, like it's a joke. Like you play on tourists. So it has to like move into that kind of comedy horror / satire kind of realm. Because there was a film made in the same city as I am a few years back, and they did it straight. And like, no offense to them, and it's kind of boring long term, because it's kind of like, how do you keep that going, especially when it's all based on a joke in the first place?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like me being just like a guy who just gets all his information from Facebook and Instagram for the most part. I mean, I might fall for it. because I've seen pictures of like koalas that look pretty scary. Like
Yeah, no,
there's a picture of like a koala bear that's like soaking wet, and it's just like it's like screaming, and it's just like it looks terrifying.
and
They
that's
look like these docile animals, but
yeah, and it's all a joke because at the end of the day, koalas, yeah, like I said, they eat eucalyptus leaves, which makes them perpetually drunk and dozy, and so they are like really cute animals, and they're very placid. But when you do watch them fight, it's something between themselves when the males get territorial. It's pretty funny.
oh
Well,
yeah,
just the sounds that come from them. It's just like you see a little teddy bear thing, and then you hear these things, and it's just like a guttural like scream, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's coming from that thing.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. And it's kind of like a lot of things in Australia. Like I would say like I'm more terrified of fucking bears, like in certain parts of America, and like pumas, like stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, I think statistically nobody's died from a spider bite in Australia for like close to 50 years. And so and like we all kind of like when you grow up around that kind of stuff like snakes and stuff, you kind of like it's kind of that taught behavior. It's like I'm assuming like when any predators that you guys have in America that might be in any environment, you kind of like you learn to how not to get yourself
yeah,
fucked
like
up by
how to
it.
react.
Yeah, how to
Yeah,
react and all that kind of thing. So yeah,
Well,
You
that's the thing is, hopefully you will learn from it and not just be like, hey, I'm going to take a picture with this moose in the middle of the road and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, like
oh, you'd be dead and you won't know any different.
right.
well, there's still people that do it. You see all these dumb videos of people are like, yeah, let's test it, let's try it out. It's like, yep, no.
Yeah, it's never. Yeah, that's human nature. We will do some dumb shit. That's for sure.
Yeah. So was it like what was your was it just something that you're like looking to make a movie? So you're like, all right, let's just like we just need to make a good drop bear movie. Like the other
Well,
one was too serious, so we need to make one that's fun. And was that just your goal?
Well, the honest truth was I had worked on an asylum film that came down to Australia because a mate of mine, Anthony Thrith, convinced them to let him make an asylum film in Australia to make a documentary about making one of them called Mockbuster, which comes out next year. And it's great. I can't recommend it anymore. Like, it's brilliant. It's and I was chatting to the producer that was here for that, and he'd just come off working on a Mickey Mouse public domain film. And I was like, oh, where did that money come from? It was a bit of a shit show for him, so he wasn't really in the mood to talk about it. But eventually I got out, it was ITN, and I was like, well, I run a video corporate company as well, and we lost a big client, we needed some cash flow, so I was like, okay, I really want to make a movie here, but like ITN, essentially what they do is just take a punt on up-and-coming filmmakers or emerging filmmakers, and they'll just drop $20,000 on a film, and they're essentially gambling with 8 films a month kind of style. And I was like, well, shit, I'll reach out to them. And then I was like, I'll email them. And then I heard nothing back. And Australians are really self-deprecating, so we won't, like, we have a tall poppy syndrome where you beat down on anybody that tries to be an individual, stand out. It's very polar opposite to American culture. And I was like, well, I'll email Nicole, the production manager there as well, and CC'd her into it. I never heard back, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna put a diary invite into the calendar for next Tuesday and be like, I can meet you then, and just like big ball this shit, just be a little bit American and put it in a calendar. Like, yeah, sure, like, yeah, okay, we'll talk to you then. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I was like, okay, cool. So I got on, I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to come up with some ideas for a film here. And then I was like, well, drop bears are cool, and I want something really super relevant to Australia, but like I want to make that I can work in an American element, because I was really keen to have it work for an American audience, but work for an Australian audience. And that's where having the cliched American tourists played really well to an Australian audience, but then having the cliched Australian tour guides like being a ripoff of Steve Irwin, who is like internationally beloved, be a scam artist that's trying to be a fake Steve Irwin. And then I sent off the treatment to him, and I met with Stuart. It was the weirdest 15 minutes of my career. I made movies before, and I got on the call, and he was like, oh yeah, Kill the Koala sound great. All right, we'll get Frank all the way onto it. And yeah, see what happens. Never done an Australian film. And within that, I was like, holy shit, so we're making a movie. And I was like, well, we have 4-month window to make the movie before we have to move on another project. So I was like, okay, let's push the limit and see if we can do this in 4 months. And so so the whole thing was start to finish, written, finished, and produced in 4 months. And part of what I really wanted to do as part of this film is, as a B movie lover, something that I've noticed in the B movie culture is it's become reasonably pretentious in a sense of like self-deprecating. Like it's that whole connoisseur of B movie, like judging B movies in this weird way. So I was like, well, I want to make a love letter to B movies, but we're taking the piss out of B movies. So make it a satire. So knowing I'm making a B movie, and that was something that it was probably the most freeing creatively, the most of a freeing creatively project. I've been working on dramas for 5 years before that. And being able to just go, okay, part of the jank and the charm is the shit not being quite there, not being polished, and also making that trope, taking that B movie trope and then flipping on its head again and kind of like, just subverting expectations that way. So it became fun.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like sometimes, nothing wrong with, low budget films or whatever, but sometimes they take themselves too seriously. And then people look at it and they're like, was it supposed to be like that? And you're like, whoa, what's wrong? It's like, come on now. Like,
well,
know your limits kind of deal.
And that's what I loved about working on this movie, because in Adelaide, particularly within Australia, we have this real problem in Australia. Like back in the 70s, like Mad Max and The Castle and a few other like world-renowned films came out of an era called Ozploitation, where we kind of made these low-budget movies that are just like purposely just like slapped together. And Mad Max came out of that with George Miller, and like it's the Roger Corman kind of style of filmmaking, because we will kind of like just make do. And Australian film over the last 20 years has become the most pretentious, stuck up their ass kind of filmmaking, where you kind of like, you only have a budget of a couple $1 million. So you go, I'm going to need to make this this $1 million to $2 million movie look like a $20 million movie. And you're already setting yourself up to fail. And so when I was like, well, we've got 20 or 30 grand Australian. If I'm going to try and turn around and try and make this look like $100,000 film, it's never going to work. Like, we're never going to reach that. And we're just going to look like idiots trying. So I was like, well, lean into that. Let's use that to our advantage and use the charm of that and use that as part of the joke. It's like the Koala King, when he turns up in the movie, his first line is literally, "Do I not look real to you?" Which is like, hopefully by that point in the movie, people will realize this is all satire and a big giant fucking joke. But like, being able to signal that to the audience and be able to like, okay, just go with it. Just enjoy it. Just have fun. This is not meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I think you totally pulled it off. And it's, I enjoyed it. It was a fun time, and you can watch it on Tubi right now. It's streaming on Tubi. For the folks in the U.S., there's one of the guys in chat, Epic, Explicit Hatred UK. He's in the UK. Do you know if it's streaming in the UK right now as well?
So I think it's worldwide except for Australia, because we ended up picking up the rights here in Australia, and we're going to do a home media release, which will sneakily sell across the world. But so we were at this point, I'm pretty sure worldwide it's on Tubi, other than Australia and New Zealand.
Okay. So check it out on Tubi. Might as well, right? It's free.
100%. Well, and I think that's a kind of cool thing for me, is like, I'm just happy for people to see it, because I think that's the end of the other thing that like part of film culture has become this, like the anti-spoiler thing, and like the whole thing, we've come so entwined in like either wanting to know all the spoilers, avoiding it, and all that kind of stuff. And I think just making something just to be silly, have fun, was completely freeing, because at the end of the day, I knew I'm enjoying people that are loving the film, but I'm also enjoying the people that are giving me shit about it being shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know, because I set out to do that. So then it's kind of satisfying, especially when there's one person locally who gave it a really shitty review, but they're like from the film school. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's exactly what the response I was hoping for. So it's kind of been enjoyable, because at the end of the day, I can't lose.
they obviously are not getting the fact that like you made the movie you set out to make.
Yeah, I made the movie I wanted to, and it was fun. And it's like, and it's on on a level like of because of that and that freeing nature, there's like if you go back to it, there's a lot of like layers to the whole thing. It's like I'm not trying to be I sound pretentious now myself, but like there's a lot of stuff all like, okay, if we put all our focus if we can slot some more jokes, some more stuff that's in there that's on a deeper level of like comedy on top of comedy, because at the end of the day, like we're not with the like the Koala King's costume, for example, is a polar bear costume that we refitted. We did full motion capture, 3D tracked face to do all the expression stuff, but on purpose, I left the fucking seams on the suit.
Yeah.
There's like it's welding gloves, and there's a moment and like a couple shots in the fight, I purposely didn't put the face on, so there's tracking markers on this mask, and like just to be able to gently remind the audience every time it got too serious, to gently like this. I'm taking the piss. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the enjoyment of anybody that's actually taking it seriously. I'm like, holy shit, that's actually kind of cool too, because you're really trying to legitimize it.
There was one
Because at
little
that
thing I
point-
noticed with one of the baby koalas, and I'm just like, I'm pretty sure that was on purpose. Like, you can
Was
see
the
the
tag?
label. Yeah.
Of all the things, this is because we took it on a regional tour out here with a couple actors, so I had to watch it like 5 times over a couple of days. The funniest part about that of all the ones that we put in there, that was unintentional.
Oh, really?
And in that shot, I spent all the time with the visual effects painting out the fishing line that has that
Oh, yeah.
pulled that gag, because that shot was done by having the actor act in reverse and then
Oh,
pulling the stuffed animal away with the fishing line, and when you play it back, it looked like it jumped. We painted out. I went through and painted out all the fishing line, but totally blanked on the fact that it had the tag there. So it was kind of one of those happy accidents. And so Yoz, who plays the Koala King in the suit, does the brilliant voice, was like, "Oh, dude, leaving the tag there was genius." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like the tags, and then I'm like, "Holy shit!" Totally unintentional, but it makes me happy to like see those kind of things.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, if you're getting like people like, "Oh man, this is great," so they must have been somewhat invested in the movie. If they're giving you stuff, "Oh man, what are they doing with this?" It's supposed to be. So they must have been like somewhat into it to be angry at it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that they sat through it and they still got angry enough to write a 1 or half a star review makes me happy too. It's like, well, you sat through the movie, so it can't be that.
Well, they say, what is it? There's no bad publicity. So it's like,
No,
you
not at
watch it,
all.
now you're putting it out, and it's like, oh, okay. And that's some people like to be like, oh, someone gave this one so bad of a review or whatever. I'm just going to watch it to see what it's all
totally.
about. So either way, it's like, okay, you're going to get eyes on it.
Exactly, and that's what I'm hoping that those particular people are my main target audience, because they're the ones that are hopefully, when they go into it, understand and pick up, okay, oh shit, this is all intentional. This is satire. This is like taking the piss out of it, but while being loving towards B movies and enjoying the fact that kind of like rawness. And it might be like overthinking it, but Jesse, who works for me, made a good point to me the other month about with the shift into AI generation, like video and stuff like that. He said that his thoughts around is like long term, we're going to start craving this clearly raw, like flawed kind of content where you can see the seams a little bit more, like because it's gonna allow that. Okay, that's not AI or whatever that kind of vibe. It's like I really look up to what the Asylum guys did as a business and everything like that. But recently, I've noticed in a lot of their stuff is they're moving into using AI generated like visual effects shots. And part of me feels like it's losing a bit of the charm, because part of the charm of those was the poor visual effects artists, good or bad, or however you feel about torturing people this way. But they had 75 shots they had to do in a week. And so you can see in some of the shots, they put a lot of effort into it, and they do it. And like some of the shots are really nice. And some of them are just like beyond shit and rushed. And you kind of, that's part of the charm. But I think that's going to start to get lost when you rely on visual effects that are like shots that are AI generated. Is like, it's not that kind of charm, janky charm anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of like missing the point. So, yeah.
When I see Asylum, I'm expecting janky. So if they start going that other route, it's not gonna, like you said, it's gonna lose its charm. That's like if Trauma started doing everything like pitch perfect. Like, no, that's
Yeah,
I still want the same car crash in every movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
100%.
Well, that's like looking at all these films from like the 70s and 80s, getting all these 4K redos and stuff. And people are like, oh, I love it. I'm like, I don't. Because the movies back then were made the way they were because sometimes they hid some of the strings and the way it's like, okay, now we're going to make it, enhance it and enhance it. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, that looks like shit. Because it was supposed to, it looked good because they hit it with the darkness,
And-
or they worked around it, and now they're like doing.
And the grit is what
opposite.
makes it. That's what gives it like the feel.
And it's the removal of like DNR. The whole debate, like James Cameron and stuff, is notorious for it, but the DNR process and removing that film grain, because that's something that we did with DROPBEAR. We slathered a bunch of film grain on top of it as well, artificially, because that film grain is what it's doing is allows that I feel like you get more suspense, sense of like dissuspense, like sense, whatever it is. But also that film grain that they're removing was hiding those seams. They were like, it allowed that kind of like separation of like, okay, I'm watching a movie, so it's like that like enjoyment part. Yeah. And so I think there's a part of like what I really enjoy some of the home media release stuff, and especially in 4K, when they don't pull the grain off and you still got that level of grain there, because it still allows that sense of that that ability to be like, I'm watching a movie. Yeah. And it's like part of the charm, part of the grit.
Getting that like soap opera effect where everything starts to feel like you're in the same room, and it's just like, something's not right about this.
Well, and it's part of my, I was a news cameraman and an editor for the first 10, 12 years of my career. And something that I have, and maybe it's a bit of PTSD from that period of my life, but something that really irks me is that video like look, because it's like it's the difference between film and TV or video is like always being that level of difference. And it kind of like, I like that grittiness of the grain, and I really appreciate it when it's left in, especially when they're doing rescans.
Yeah.
Yes. Some people these days, they're like, oh, I need the vision. I'm like, listen, when I watch a movie, I don't care what the vision. I mean, it comes down to what I do, but I don't at the same time. I'd rather a good story and a good plot line than having the greatest visuals ever. And they're like, oh, I needed it the best quality. I'm like, some movies weren't supposed to be seen at the best quality. It's like, I don't know what you people are coming at. And then with the AI and the, some of the best movies are those, practical effects and all that stuff, because it's like, okay, this was put into it. Nowadays, everybody's at a computer, and it's just like, okay, now you just make it look, it's like, I can tell that's fake. Sometimes, back in the day with creature effects, you couldn't tell. Then there's other ones you can.
Yeah, it must be like way harder now with everything being like 8K and whatever, like, to do the practical effects. Like for the movies that, are still doing the practical effects, it must be even harder now for them to pull it off, really.
Well, and I think it's part of like, and I'm sure the three of us are guilty of this because we go through movies and watch it and try and see all the details and that kind of thing. But that whole culture of like the blooper / like frame the screenshots of stuff pointing out issues and stuff like that is kind of like pushed. It's usually like studio pressure, but push filmmakers to like fix any issues like stunt doubles, faces, and that kind of stuff. Like it's interesting when you like, depending on like, I enjoyed the Hobbit films. I appreciate the Hobbit films for what they are, but Lord of the Rings is my biggest inspiration as a filmmaker, and Peter Jackson's journey and all that kind of stuff. But I'm been going through a bit of like comfort watching recently and watched all the Hobbit movies, now watching Lord of the Rings. And something that I really appreciate about Lord of the Rings is like when you're watching that, like the writing, the doubles, like are all there's like, they're just stunt doubles, and you like if you pause the movie, you clearly see that they're stunt doubles. But when you're watching it, because it's moving and you're not paying attention to that because you're immersed in the story. But what I find sometimes it really irks me when I'm watching some modern movies is like when the stunties doing their job, and you see 5 frames of the stunt double's face, and instead of just letting the audience just like zone that out, they go through and they add a digital face replacement. But unfortunately, it draws my attention to that more than if they'd just let the stuntie's face be there. And so it's an interesting thing where, are you what is the balance of cost to immersion? Is it going to break the immersion completely, or are you more worried about breaking, like having people post screenshots of your stunt double's face? I think there's like, it's going a little bit too far the other way, and I'm interested to see if we ever get back into that kind of like being okay with the audience being okay with that too. It's like, yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it's the beautiful, amazing thing about the internet, the access to information and be able to, like right now, we're chatting on the internet and be able to do this kind of stuff. Like previously, you wouldn't be able to do this, but there's also that every good thing has its kind of like negative side, and I think sort of part of that is that culture of like picking shit to death, and that's where making this film was like freeing, because there's like, I'd been doing drama where since the suspension of disbelief has to be like 90%, like anything that breaks that immersion in a drama will take somebody completely out of a movie and you lose them. Whereas like with this kind of movie, I was like, you hit 50, 60%, or sometimes on purpose, you kind of got a lot more freedom because you're less worried about, are they going to lose the like immersion in the film? Because I was like playing with that as part of the jokes as well. Was brilliant.
Yeah. Sergio is asking if we have a trailer. We do have a trailer. I'm going to play it in the next couple minutes. But Wolfie is in the chat as well. He's saying that some movies don't need ultra high def, especially when it comes to older horror films. And I agree 100%. I don't even have a 4K TV. I still have a 1080p, but whatever.
And I think sometimes for me, it's like the early 2000s stuff that was shot digitally that was only delivered in 2K. So why are we going to like the effort? I mean, I know it's a money spending thing, but like, why go to the effort of upscaling AI wise when the Blu-ray is good enough? Like, I think that's part of, yeah, it's interesting
because they want people like Tony to go out and buy the 4K.
Nope, they didn't get me. They got me.
They got you on some stuff. On some stuff, they got you.
It's only because of the visual. That's it. I don't care. Yeah. I don't need to go out there and get the like. Being a collector, it's like, okay, it looks beautiful, the cover art and stuff. It's not me going out and being like, oh, I need it on 4K. No, you just got me in that side of the market. So
yeah, definitely. And so not obviously we're talking about what I'm up to, but Tony, and you guys with that whole shift away, like with streaming, the way it started to disintegrate, like become cable again. And physical media kind of, I've always had that like solid base kind of fan base that, like, including myself, like keep buying like physical media. Yeah, it's been like recent times I've been like, well, we cancelled a bunch of streaming services, and I'm like, shit, I want to watch this thing, and I go and grab the DVD instead. And it's like, well, and I didn't have to. I think that, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we hit, like, obviously everybody's going streaming. It'll be interesting to see if we come. There's kind of like a little bit of a lean back. It's never going to go back to the early 2000s of DVD, but yeah, there's a little bit of a transition back again.
It's transitioning already as streaming services are pricing themselves out, and the fact that you're not physically owning it, especially with some of these like streaming platforms that you have, like a Vudu or a Fandango now and all that. If they lose their right, what you did buy is no longer yours anyway. So there's a whole, especially on TikTok, there's a whole collecting community, and it's growing by the day. How many people pop on and they're like, I'm getting rid of my streaming services, I'm going to a Goodwill or this or that, and I'm picking up the physical media. So as quickly as it went that way, it came back. Look at Best Buy. Best Buy got rid of its physical media, learned that it was going to go out of business because that's what 95% of the people went there for, and they're now bringing back physical media. So it's like, that should show you one kind of swing. Now you look at Target, and Walmart never got rid of it, but Target did the same thing. But I think because of the swing now, physical media is finally getting its stuff back, I think.
That's cool, because we were really fortunate in Australia, because we were 10 years behind the rest of the world, being on the arse end of the planet. We've been really lucky that JB Hi-Fi, a local retailer, which is a little similar to your Best Buy, they've been staunch supporters of physical media and always kept it. And their biggest sales, like their home media, they sell more DVDs than they sell anything else at the moment, like physical media wise. So yeah, it's been interesting like that. And I think there's also the us millennials, as we like cost of living and crunch of finances, is like thrift stores. Like people dumped all their physical media collections into op shops or like thrift stores, and so there's this whole buying that new thing as well. But also like at the moment, I'm currently on the hunt for a collector's copy or like the 2-disc version of The Frighteners. But it's like part of me is like I could go and order online, but I'm like just occasionally because it's got all that like brilliant hour 40-minute doco on it. I'm like part of me is like I could, but I'm gonna. It's been like this 2-year kind of like journey of like checking everywhere to see if I can find a copy eventually.
It's a thrill of the hunt, is what they say.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people on YouTube that would go like DVD hunting, and it's like, here's a list of the stuff I want, but when I'm looking, oh, here's something I never thought I'd see again, or here's something that's a little hard to find, because the one thing that physical media is too is, there's some that are actually worth some stuff, just like trading cards, just like anything, like the price skyrockets, and especially nowadays, the thing that streaming services are actually helping the physical copy of. If it's not in the streaming service, the physical copy is up more because now there's only one way to find it, and it's the physical copy of it. So it's actually helping in the long run for physical media collectors.
And I think there's also like, not to get into the whole censorship debate and all that kind of stuff, but the whole surrounding like the original intent of the filmmaker and what's like on the home media release, usually like it can't change. They can't go in and change it. Like be it George Lucas and messing around with Star Wars yet again or anything like that. Like you obviously Lucasfilm's a Disney product now, but not being able to go back and tamper with stuff, like you can get the original intent sometimes as well, or if they like would. George Lucas like finding that original Laserdisc of Star Wars that had the pre-special edition kind of gives you that kind of like insight into that kind of thrill of that chase as well.
Yeah, there was what was it, the Harmon despecialized edition, like the
Rubber Monster edition.
Yeah, where they like this guy put together like all the sources that were available of the unspecialized edition and just like all the best copies and whatever. That was going around for a long time. But you may like. I'm glad you brought up Frighteners. I haven't seen that in a long time. I need to watch that movie again.
Well, and I think that's a similar, like obviously like I won't spoil it so people can go and watch it. But the final way that the big koala king DROPBEAR gets killed, a few people said, "Oh, that's like Sharknado," and I'm like, "No, come on, guys, you obviously don't know where it's a bad taste reference." To Derek killing an alien and their bad taste coming through the
We're in a bad taste.
No way. That's amazing. Oh, dude, that's made my day. That is brilliant. Because, so that, and obviously I'm not doing it anywhere near as well as Peter Jackson did, but like that
it was still a pretty great end kill.
Yeah.
Well,
the end kill is the homage to bad taste and Derek coming through the roof and going down through the alien and coming out its ass at the bottom. Was and so I think there's that. It's like I enjoy it's interesting, and I enjoy that reference to people being like, oh, it's a Sharknado, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but you know who they were originally ripping off,
right? Yeah.
So that, and I hadn't even the Sharknado thing hadn't even come to mind. It was like totally just. It's going to be Derek's kill at the end of Bad Taste.
Because even in Dead Alive, the mother, come to mama or whatever, with his stomach wide open. But
the movie is still like extremely quotable. I love Dead Alive or Brain Dead, whatever you want to, whichever cut you want to watch. But it's I was doing a podcast with this actress from the original Scream movie. Like I was hosting it with her, and she had never seen it, and we made her watch it. And it's funny. It was the whole point of the podcast was because she didn't know anything about horror, and she goes to horror conventions, and she has to represent, but she knows nothing about horror.
She's not even a horror fan. In history. So
and plus her boyfriend is Tony Moran, who was one of the original Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And like so it's it's weird. Like she absolutely adored Dead Alive, but she thought Evil Dead 2 was too much.
Interesting.
I'm like, really? I'm like, but
Like-
Dead Alive was not too much. Like that
No, it
was
was like
too much.
picking up a lawnmower and going through and cutting everyone with a lawnmower.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love both movies, but I'm like, Dead Alive is definitely way more than Evil Dead 2. But yeah, it was she.
I guess
adored it.
maybe Brain Dead or Dead Alive like tips into that, and that's where like I love Bad Taste and Brain Dead is that tips into that absurdity. It
Yeah.
tips into the taking the piss. Like it's like that, just pushing it into the next level of like, hey, and I think that's what I really enjoyed about Peter Jackson's stuff. Like, is it's. And that's why I think it still holds up so well. Is it's like it's a winking at the audience. Like hey, come along. Like, yeah, we know this is absurd, but like, just get into it. Just enjoy it. This is yeah.
We had before when the show was called something else. We had Dee Wallace on, and she told some stories about Frighteners and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Oh, amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I think Frighteners is one of those kind of like not as appreciated as it could be kind of films. I think with the way it was released and being forced into a Halloween release at the last minute kind of didn't help the marketing side of it. But also I think part of it was it's that weird blend between New Zealand and Australian humor and American studio film, and it kind of like just kind of sat on this weird cusp of that as well in a time where that hadn't really become as evident or as easy access with the internet and the access to information about other countries and like being able to kind of grasp humor, because Australian and New Zealand humor are pretty similar in its way. It's self-deprecating, like I said earlier. Like not only are we self-deprecating as a society in the sense of like not putting like dragging each other down, like being not allowing other people to get egos and that kind of thing, but it comes back to our sense of humor as well. It's like taking the piss out of ourselves, and that's where we Drop Bear was part of the enjoyment. Is like as much as the American tourists are taking the piss out of Americans with the cliched American tourists, it's taking the piss out of ourselves and that Australian culture, and with Bazza being a drunk alcoholic kind of like naive tourist himself because going overseas to Indonesia and like pretending he's like cultured man because he went to Bali and that kind of thing is kind of like playing and taking the piss out of everybody. And I think that's where Frighteners kind of weirded people out a little bit, because it was taking the piss out of everybody. It's like making fun of it. It's like South Park does so well and can keep going the way they do, is because you can get away with it when you insult everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we should play the trailer because Sergio's been asking for it. So let me see. All right. So here's the trailer for Drop Bear, which is playing now on Tubi for free. So we'll be back in 1 minute and 44 seconds.
I had a mate once. He claimed that he wrestled a drop bear with his bare hands. The fuck? A few days later we found him, half eaten, dangling from a gum tree.
This is the real Australia, right? Out in the wild.
You're about to have the most batshit insane Aussie adventure of your life.
Funnel web spiders, death adders, there are so many, and I want to see them all.
Yeah! Who's ready to meet the dread? Drop bear!
My God, no one thinks this is real.
That's what the bloody drop bear wants you to think.
I got your back.
Is that you?
Don't ask questions we don't want answers to.
This thing's still out there and still breathing. Those kids just kicked the hornet's nest.
You ran, but you ran home. Come back, you furry fuck!
Coming soon to a Tubi near you. Yeah. How does that not look fun? Right?
Yeah, I don't. Thank you. I think that's the joy of this, is just like it's fun regardless. Like I said, anybody that takes it too seriously, I find amusing, and then I really appreciate when people kind of get the idea and the whole underlying approach to it. So yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people, at least people in my group, that are fans of like B movie and like I don't take offense, but like schlock.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking offense.
Okay.
No. This is the point. This is what I love about this. Is no offense taken, because that's the intention.
Right. And so like this is like there's friends that are like big trauma people and stuff like that. I'm gonna be like, yeah, you should check this one out. You know,
Yeah,
are you a trauma fan at all?
Not personally, no.
Like
This is the weirdest thing. Is like I'm not the biggest horror. Sadly, I have to admit, I'm not the biggest horror person myself personally, and I think that's part of the enjoyment I got out of it. Like I'm more of that splatter kind of like pit, like when you push the limit beyond like horror. Maybe I'm just a bit of a soft cock, a bit of a scaredy cat, but I really enjoy like that, pushing it to the point where I'm like it's confronting, scary, but like also slightly absurd.
Yeah. A bit over the top.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. So with the characters in here, they all have their own little like specialty to them. Did you have like open casting calls, or did you work with some of them before, or how'd that like the casting go?
Yeah, so we're really lucky in Adelaide. We have a really good set of like depth of actors. Like we have a really good acting school. One of the lecturers at one of our universities, at one of the more well-known acting courses, she's from Canada and done a number of like big shows. She was the hybrid in Battlestar Galactica, and a few other things. So there's a really good core group of actors, and we got really lucky with this film because we did an open casting call. But like Bazza, for example, Kieran, I've worked with Kieran a number of times, and so he's been a long time collaborator. So I kind of wrote that with him in mind on purpose, but I still had to make him audition because the studio had to approve. And a few others, but yeah, there's like people in there like Jess, who plays Emily, and like Connor, who plays Ollie, the kind of nerdy guy. I'd always wanted to work with him, but the others are all just casting calls, and they were just auditioned, and we just got really lucky because some of the best lines in the movie are ad-libbed. Like they just gelled, and the way they were able to just play off each other and start to ad-lib, and then I was like, okay, cool, I like that. Let's workshop this and then play it out. Like there's the campfire scene at the end of that, the where to take a shit kind of scene. That whole last coda of that scene is all improv, and probably my favorite line of the film, when Bazza lights the fire, the end of that the leukemia joke is completely off center out of Kieran's mouth. It was kind of like everybody at the time was like horrified with him saying that, and then when in the edit I was like, I'm conflicted. I'm kind of horrified with the response to that joke, but it works so in character. So I put it in the movie, and Jesse, who's the GM of our corporate company, was like, you can't do that, man. You can't have that joke. And then we had a 20-minute debate with Yoz, the Koala King, as well, when he was in doing ADR and the facial capture stuff. And we kind of landed on it. It was like, hey, because it was in character. But it was like, yeah, it became one of my favorite kind of like a lot of those kind of like moments. Some of those are really like just the cast gelling on set, and just and feeling free to just to act and just to play into the role as well was great, because it was satire, it was absurd, it was like, but I got everybody to play it seriously as well, like play the honesty of like what the character's motivations are. Like Steve-O, as ridiculous as that character is, the progression of that character of the movie of like losing control, the stupider and more ridiculous his acting gets, is because he's trying to play the character within the movie. The guy is trying to maintain control of the situation by playing the lie that he's playing to the tourist. So it was kind of one of those really cool moments, and kind of like everybody just gelled and really worked well together.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was meshing. And speaking of like some ad lib stuff, there was a few lines that I was like, oh, okay, Let me rewind it just to make sure. The one part where she's like walking through, she's like, "If anybody touches me, I'm gonna punch him in the dick or whatever."
Yeah.
That one.
Well, I
cracked.
think that one's in the that one's in the script, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but that was the one. There was a few that I giggled
Yeah.
at. That one I rewind like 2 or 3 times because it got me laughing so much.
That was and it's one of those things like it's called actor reliant writing. When you write a script, you're trying to actor proof your screenplays where you delivery contingent, if that makes sense. So you got to make sure the actor can deliver the line, like kicking somebody in the balls. Like if anybody gets, I'm going to kick them in the balls. Like that kind of line, if acted shit, it's like really bad. Whereas if you get the actors in the zone and able to deliver it with this authenticity of the character, it really lands. So yeah.
No, the one thing that I had to look it up, and I'm assuming that all 4 of the tourists were Australian in real life, and just were putting
only 3 of them are. One of them is American.
Really? Okay.
One thing, yeah, Cayman, who plays the Jessica character, the one that says they kick him in the ball, she's actually American. So
okay.
Yeah, that was one of my goals was casting at least one American. She happened to be living here at the time, and I cast one American into those 4. So at least then when the accents kind of drop in and out, like there's a plausible deniability. Like there was one American.
I mean, I thought everyone did a really good job. There was only maybe one character that like I noticed like a word here or there. I'm just like, we don't say bean, like instead of Ben. Like, yeah, we don't say
Ben.
Yeah. It's like I've been there, like I've been there. Like we don't say bean.
There's an interesting thing because you like obviously America being the size it is has different like Boston accents. Like you've got the Boston, you've got New York, you've got in Australia we have 2. Like I'm in Adelaide, which is like central south, is like south of the country. The East Coast says we say graph, like proper English, and they say graph, like Americans. But there's like it's like a couple of those weird idiosyncrasies within just in Australia of like between 27 million people. So it's like interesting seeing that big difference across America, as well.
Yeah, we have like just in Massachusetts. I'm sure it's the same in New Jersey too, but like just in Massachusetts, like our accent changes, and Massachusetts is not a huge state.
Well, like, it especially for Jersey because the state like is bordered by a couple different ones. So like Southern Jersey definitely speaks different than Northern Jersey because up north we're more like New Yorkers. Down south is more like Philadelphia, and I mean you could definitely tell the difference between like
go to Wawa,
and one part of New Jersey it's Taylor ham, the other one it's pork roll, and it's just like so it's all different and it's all the same state. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that kind of like I always find that it's part of like my enjoyment of filmmaking is like being able to like reflect the human nature of people and just like the absurdity, because we are one. And what I love about humans and I think great characters is like we are a big ball of contradictions as individuals. Like, and I think that gets bigger when you bring in a group of people, and then it gets bigger when you bring in a town or a city, and then it gets bigger when you bring in a whole country. So it's interesting. Like I love that kind of nuance, like, and subcontext in everybody's lives around like a lot of the times what we're saying isn't necessarily what we're intending or we believe ourselves, which I quite enjoy in film.
Yeah, it's weird. But I don't know.
Sorry.
So we do have to start wrapping things up. So what do you have coming up? Like, do you have any other films coming out? It doesn't have to be horror. I mean,
Well, funny enough, in March we're shooting the follow up to DROPBEAR. So I built DROPBEAR out and there's an end credit scene. I'm not sure if you guys saw it.
Yep.
That kind of builds out more Australian animals. So what I kind of ended up was I went to the studio and pitched a couple other ideas, and they were like, "No, we want a shark movie. You're in Australia. We want a shark movie." I'm like, I don't like shark movies, and I don't want to make a shark movie. And then I was like, I don't know, I've got no good shark movie ideas. But then I was like, well, what if I work it into that universe? So we're building a shared universe with all these kind of like crazy animal hybrid military operations, and essentially the film is they run out of money, and so they slap a laser beam on the shark, inject it with super soldier serum, and shit goes sideways when we're currently our beaches have an algal outbreak. And so I was like, I don't want to be shooting on the ocean because I get seasick. So we're like, we've got to somehow get the shark on land. And so the toxic algal bloom that's happening in the ocean triggers the super soldier serum, and we end up with Predator on like the shark on the land in a kind of like Predator style movie.
Well, again, like I said, there's plenty of deadly animals there. You can get like
100%. That's where I kind of like playing. Yep. But the other thing we're developing is there's a great sci-fi novel called Heart and Soul, spelled Hart and Soul as in like soul, a day on Mars, which is SOL, that we did an audiobook for the author, and I've optioned the rights to the novel. It's a inappropriate sci-fi comedy, essentially the end of the kind of human race kind of story. But what I loved about the inappropriate comedy, as absurd and as like offensive as it is, it's all character based. All the characters this crew have all had a bunch of trauma, and they're like on this dead end job as a security escort for this pleasure cruise liner for all these rich people. And the kind of the absurd humor the absurdity and the inappropriateness comes from their coping mechanisms, how they cope with their trauma. And it culminates in each of their coping mechanisms becoming part of the solution for the overall story. And so we're option rights to that, and so we're in development of that. So part of this kind of like doing these like smaller budget movies is essentially having some fun, but also road testing and stress testing our processes and working out with low risk, okay, how do we go about making a feature film, which I've done in the past, but like how do we do it affordably, and like building out all those kind of resources and building up to Heart and Soul, which hopefully will be something that we can get up and running next year, which I think we'll kind of blend that kind of like absurd comedy humor, but with like really good hard sci-fi story.
Nice.
Which I haven't seen a lot of, so yeah.
Kind
of Red Dwarf. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is. It's British comedy.
Yep. It was something I had always heard about, and then there was on one of like the streaming services that's free. There was like a British like comedy channel, and it used to show Red Dwarf, and so I was introduced to it probably like 2 years ago for the first time. So
amazing!
Yeah.
I think that's
well behind on it, but I know what it is.
But that's something I love about Australian humor. We have that like kind of the DNA is British humor. Mm-hmm. But then what if you take British humor and you stick it with a bunch of people in the arse end of the universe that have to just kind of recycle the same Monty Python, the 2 seasons of Fawlty Towers and the 3 Monty Python movies, and you just regurgitate that over and over and over. Yeah. And that's Australian humor, essentially.
Nice.
Well, that's some of my favorite but Mel Brooks is my favorite director. So like sometimes it's like like that dry humor where it's just like, was that supposed to be a joke? Oh, it was a joke. And then you laugh like 5 seconds after because you're like, oh, wait, did they just, yes, they did. And then it's like,
Yeah. Or even just like and that's what I love, situational British humor. Like the original Office, no offense to the US Office, but the UK
I
Office
just talked about it today. I was just saying how I think it's superior, like far superior, because it's so much more uncomfortable. And
because that's what I love about that British kind of style of humor is like uncomfortableness, like that point of like making you feel uncomfortable and pushing to that point where the only response you can do is laugh at it. Is like I love that feeling. It's like maybe I'm just fucked in the head, but I really do enjoy that kind of experience of like the Freeway episode when the poor bastards like they all start singing and the poor training guys like this ends with them saying that's lunch. Like that moment, like the whole lead up the song and that whole setup is brilliant, but that payoff of just him being so fed up and done and awkward about it. Just like,
we were in the office at my work, and I was talking about the show with a coworker, and I was just like, "There's been a rape up there," and I'm like, after I said it, I'm like, I think I said that too loud because like, I probably shouldn't have said it as loud as I said it.
Yeah, exactly. That is probably that episode is one of the best episodes of like dogs. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
it's so it's so uncomfortable. It's so good.
so good.
But anyways, on that note, where can people go to find out what's going on with you and your new projects and everything? Where can people follow you?
So on Instagram, you can follow me at John DeCaux, the film. Like, you can find me on Instagram as well as our production company. We have a website where we post a lot of stuff and blog stuff. We've got a home media, like obviously on Tubi, but we've got the home media release right. So we documented the whole making of. So we shot the whole process from day to dot. So we're doing a home media release that's going to have a full documentary of the making of the film. Because I was never formally went to film school or anything. I learned through watching behind the scenes documentaries, especially like Lord of the Rings appendices and stuff like that. So I'm really hot on documenting it for the next generation. And so yeah, we'll have commentaries and stuff like that. So yeah, and there'll be a home media release in the next few months that we'll announce, and I'm kind of keen to get that out there as well. And then obviously the follow up, and we're working on Heart and Soul as well.
Nice. And Tony, where can people follow you?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I haven't done a video in forever, but I got enough backlog for you to watch, where I do just show off the collection, do reviews and stuff like that. Tony Has Nine Fingers on X, which I have but I don't use. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is my fastest growing and pretty much the most place you'll find me, where I do reviews. I show off some of the harder stuff to find, and pretty much it's all physical media on there. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, I almost forgot where we were. The way I was going to say the Dorkening, the Wicked Horror Show, where we have awesome guests, or it's just horror movie talk most Tuesdays. And yeah, Kevin.
You're not wrong. We are on the Dorkening Podcast Network.
Yeah, but we are the Wicked Horror Show.
Correct.
So,
and we used to be the show called The Dorkening. And then,
nice.
Yeah, I don't know where my mind went, but
I don't know either. Well, I mentioned Dee Wallace, and she was on the show when it was The Dorkening back then.
Well, John's in the future, and my mind went to the past. So.
Yes, here we are. Anyways, myself, just A-Knuckle. Yeah, just A-Knuckle on Instagram. Like Tony said, we're here most Tuesdays, whether we have a guest or just open discussion. We're live on Tuesdays. The audio goes up Thursdays, but you only get to hear the trailers if you listen to the show. So if you watch the show live, you get to see the trailers.
And you get to ask questions or comment or anything, and we'll show it up on the screen and stuff like that.
What we're getting at is that we would like more live viewers. We have a lot of listeners, but hey, why don't you come show up for the live show?
Yeah, we're looking at you, all you listeners. Yeah, get that. We're looking at you.
Yeah, that's right. Because we can do that because it's live.
So when you're listening to us, I'm staring at you through wherever you're listening.
Yes,
your radio, your phone, your headphones, wherever you're listening.
Oh gosh, she's really staring right into you.
She probably had that looked at.
Yeah.
She'd probably call a doctor or something. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching / listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.